Okay. Hi, Nikki.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Good, good. I'm excited to go over with you your assessment results and sort of what I came up with as far as your assessments and what your career outlook is, which is really exciting. And so I'm excited to go over that with you. And I just feel like all along you in your career have been making these building blocks that all of them are sort of funneling together to point you toward this path that you're on. Um, and so I'm looking at your work as a high school teacher, the tailored care management and organizing stuff. I was thinking about Monica Geller with the professional organizer specialist and like, oh, she would love that. Um, and the your work with the clinically integrated network. Do you just call that CIN, by the way?
It's called a sin.
SIN. Okay. Okay. And so I've just been kind of connecting the dots between your career history and then your career goals and your education that you're using right now. And I think it's really fascinating to just as an aside that you also have an MBA in marketing
Hmm.
and how that is going to really be an asset for you in creating your uh, holistic wellness counseling practice. Do you have a name for that, by the way?
I
Yeah.
do healing spaces.
Oh, I love it.
Yep, healing spaces therapeutic services.
Just writing that down. Okay. Very good. So, as in our brief conversations prior to this meeting time, we've talked about your desire to direct all of your work toward this holistic wellness center, which in some sense, I think maybe from a philosophical perspective, seems like we're funneling things down, but really it's just covering all the totality of people. So in a lot of ways, it's really widening things. But I just think is a really exciting career goal. You are working on your master in clinical mental health counseling through the Chicago School of Professional Psychology.
Yep,
And how far along are you into that?
I am in my fourth term,
Wow.
so
Um, um, and so you're doing that, and I really appreciate that you also set these goals for yourself to not just get through the program and get the letters beyond your name, but to really achieve and accelerate as far as your grade work goes, and that you just really want to focus on doing your work well. And so I applaud you on that because lots of folks are just trying to get through things and you're trying to thrive in things. And so I think that, well, and when I get to the assessments, is all part of your personality to not just survive, but to thrive with who you are and what you're doing.
yeah,
Um,
it was really important to me to be intentional about this program, just as you stated. I wanted to really just be intentional about my learning process and to try to soak up as much knowledge in theory and practice
mhm.
before meeting with clients that I had a really good foundation and understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just fantastic. And you can just tell that you're just climbing those rungs of success so well.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I think rungs of success for you look at our life fulfillment.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of people I get into talk with, I'll try to head that route with, and it's more of a I need a paycheck, and you're wanting to have as your business grows that same holistic aspect in your life. And so I think that's something that is important for you to just keep holding on to.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's
yeah.
important. I wanna make money.
Well,
But
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that more importantly is the purpose behind it. For me, that's very much, important to have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think, yes, I understand that because it's good to have holistic stuff in your work, but
Mhm.
also to be able to holistically play and do the things you want to do with your family and all of that. So I get it. I get it. And so after you finish with this degree, you're wanting then to seek out your licensure,
Yes.
correct? And then um, I have that you were wanting to develop your business plan, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you're already working on developing that business plan for
I
healing
am.
spaces.
Yes, I am. It's twofold. So definitely, I've thought about it because I think my background just in business, in marketing, seeing a business, I understand operations and things of that nature.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And so,
understanding the other components outside of the clinical,
mhm,
that's the part that I've already started to think about. And so now just again getting the foundation for the clinical aspect of it and
yeah,
how they go together. I think that's the part that I'll continue to be trying to navigate as I complete my degree and li practicum, supervision, things of that nature.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Great. As I said earlier with the MBA, how that's just going to really serve you so well in
Mhm.
doing all of those things that are sort of the more nuts and bolts of running the business. And excuse me, getting over a cold. All right. Very sorry about that. Um, so let's get into your assessments with those tests that you took some time to fill out. We did the MBTI assessment and Career One Stop, open source. Is it ONET, I believe?
I think that
I should
yep, that
probably
was one.
call it that. Um, Kiersey and Truity, and yeah, I think those are the ones that the ones that we focused on. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
over those results with you.
Okay.
Um, and just give you sort of a thumbnail sketch of why you had to take those particular tests. You know,
Okay.
what is the logic and thinking behind those particular tools? And so the Myers-Briggs type personality indicator, the MBTI, it's a psychometric tool that gives you insight into what makes you you, what makes
Okay.
your, sort of like blows your hair back, and the things that make you a unique person,
Okay.
um, but also to just get a sense of self-awareness about how you make decisions, how you understand your own personal needs, and things like that.
Okay.
Um, and then we took the ONET and well, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up and we're just going to go over then the Myers-Briggs part.
Okay.
And so you were scored as an INFJ on that
Yes.
test. And this we're going to also lump in with the Truity Career Aptitude, because even though they were looking for um, even though the letters are the same, um, they will tell you different aspects of who you are and how uh, you understand sort of the world around you.
Okay.
Uh, an INFJ is an introvert, intuitive, feeling, and judging person. And with your assessment results, um, you are a very instinctual person, and I've gotten that from you just in having those conversations with you. That you're a really good judge of character and have good intuition from folks around you. You are a natural discerner, meaning that you can understand things in their complexity. Um, you can instinctively recognize what's going on in the situation around you. Um, as we talked earlier, you have high levels of ambition and dedication that are going to serve you well, and you focus on what matters. So you're one of those people that I call sort of on the balcony thinkers, where you're kind of always looking over the at the balcony. And I think about the church balcony, and you're looking out, and you're seeing the whole thing happening around you, and you can discern a lot from having that big picture. Um, you're focused. It does matter that that you want to be accomplished. So you're not just going through a job to get that paycheck, as we talked about, but
Mm.
you really want to work toward uh, goals. And you are very interested in, and I thought this was important for your healing spaces, that you're very interested in helping people with their mental and physical well-being. That's sort of natural to an INFJ. Um, INFJs tend to be honor bound, you're people readers, you're sensitive. You are uncannily intuitive, which is one of the things I like when people use uncannily as a descriptor. Um, Your learning style is connectionist and reflective, and your leadership style is supportive and personal. As one of your other test results will also show, that we'll get to shortly, that you are an idealist. Um,
Yeah.
and and we need idealists in this tough world, so it's good. So the Truity then career aptitude test, which also says you are an INFJ, says that your personality type is focused and helpful. You like to work toward humanitarian causes, you're team oriented, you're organized, which when that one came up on the assessment results, I laughed because I'm like, well, she did have that organizational business. Um, you're creative and flexible, and you love to plan,
Yeah.
amongst other things, and which also then lends itself to the counseling profession. Are your abilities and capabilities and compassion and decisiveness, um, and you work towards keeping the peace.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I'll be interested to hear if you have any reflection on this too, are the things that are some possible weaknesses, are overlooking details, or intensely private, or conflict averse, or sensitive. And I always, sensitivity to me is you know, being a sensitive person myself, there are times where that really serves you very
Hmm.
well. I mean, like in your daily living, I think it serves you very well. But then I know for myself, I can be overly sensitive when I think, oh, that person must be saying I'm a putz or something like that. And um, being too sensitive to other people's comments. So um, I don't know. How does that sit with you?
I've definitely heard that. That I can be overly sensitive. I think people sometimes don't know how quiet I am. I like to observe more than talk. I'm very observant of behaviors. And I just like to kind of sit back and watch before formulating
Yeah.
my words or my ideas. Um, I have, as far as the sensitivity, I think now that definitely because I'm in my 40s now, um, that I look at it more as a strength.
Yeah.
Whereas I have more empathy, I can show more
Mm,
empathy. It
absolutely.
hasn't always served me, like you said, in the past, but I think just because of a different mindset, I have a lot more empathy, can show a lot more empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
Not that I have a bleeding heart, so to speak, but just that I have a level of seeing whole people, trying to see the whole
Mhm.
person instead of just situations, but understanding situations, consequences, reactions, things of that nature. So,
You said
um,
on the balcony. Yeah. You're
yeah,
looking at the big picture there.
yeah,
Yeah.
just trying to look at the big picture, try to see the whole person. So, what would bother me before with that, comment of, hey, you're overly sensitive, I look at now as that's a strength.
Yeah, I agree. I will say when when it pops up there, my sensitive self is like, "Hey, that's all
Yeah.
right." Because I feel like by and large it serves me well that
Yep.
you're intuitive because you can
Yeah.
see and read the room and read what's going on in someone's face and yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we should put sensitive and, maybe in quotes because I agree when that pops up, I'm just like, well, okay. um because again, along with being an idealist and a humanitarian, the world needs to have people that are sensitive to
Yep.
others.
That's how I see it, is that we need more people to be sensitive.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
in times of distress, in times of confusion, disorder, or anything, you
Mhm.
want those to have that sensibility.
Yeah.
And still be able to be rational and to be
Mhm.
able to be proactive in things. So
Yeah. So the Truity test also said, you're team oriented, achievement driven, very similar to what the MBTI
okay.
was stating. But when they look at career uh, options that suit your personality well, you'll be so surprised to find out counselor is among them.
Okay.
It's like these tests are pointing you right down the path you're going.
Okay,
Um,
great.
yeah, yeah. And I think one of the things, because it also lists creativity and achievement driven in your personality type, that's going to really keep pushing you to learn and grow more uh, in your role as the director of healing spaces. It's gonna, keep finding like you're gonna end up with Salt Cave in your practice. Like you're gonna constantly be finding new tools to help people deal with whatever's going on, and so that all points you down that path as well. Um, let's see. Me- Okay. Um, all right, I am going to then move forward to the Kiersey. Well, actually, let me ask you first if you had any thoughts, not just to focus on sort of the negativity that came from the test, but if you had any thoughts or things that maybe surprised you or questions about the
I did.
MBTI.
One thing that was surprising to me is I had taken that test before my teaching career.
Hmm.
It was one that we took years ago, and I was very, very surprised to learn that the results were the same. Um, that I was what is INFJ?
Yeah.
Um, many years ago, 10, 20 plus years ago, and I'm still that.
Uh-huh.
um, I just thought that was interesting and kind of I think put a little bit of thought to I guess my overall personality hadn't shifted that much, even though I've changed careers a couple of times. So that was interesting to me, and I guess, kind of wondering just how that would serve me moving forward in this path.
You know, as you know, I was just skiing. And so like this sort of visual is coming to my mind with that. Like I feel like, you know, and this may be overgeneralizing things, but when you're going down a hill, you're going down the INFJ hill. And when you're going down, you're, navigating things, but you're going down the INFJ hill. and and sometimes you're going to do this little shift or that little shift to avoid, a skier that's also on that path. But you're going down this hill. And then, 20 years later, you're going to be going down that same hill, but there could be different shifts on your path where you're just you're still built the same, but your life experiences are helping shape that INFJ that is within you. Um, it is really fascinating that we're. I guess I probably shouldn't admit this on this recording, um, but I wonder how many times, and something for me to perhaps look up, how many times people change. Like, how often does that happen? Because my thought is it doesn't really happen that terribly often, um, for people's four letters to change their, I don't know.
Froze.
Oh, there
There
you
you
are.
go. Yep.
It froze because it was like, you need to stop talking, Becky. Okay, so let's get to the Kiersey career assessment. Uh,
Okay.
and that is similar to the MBTI and the Truity test. It but it divides people into one of four temperaments. So a guardian, an artisan, idealist, and a rational. And then those are divided then into four further categories. So there are like 16 temperaments. Um, and um, Not surprisingly, again here, you were labeled as an idealist, that you're,
Mhm.
kind-hearted and loving. You're an authentic person. Um, um, Idealists make wonderful parents and inspirational leaders, and um, you're passionate about your personal growth. You're passionate about helping others be their best selves and finding the paths that they need to do that. Um, and so, like I said, it's not surprising given what your career goals stated at the outset of this journey have been, and what your assessment here is right on par. Um, uh, I love one of the things that it says, and I think is really clear from our conversation, our first conversation, and then how these results pair out, is that you are not afraid to do what needs to be done to achieve those goals, from, getting the education you need to finding those creative approaches. Like you said that you were interested in becoming certified in yoga and things like that, um, those are things that are indicative of you and your personality. Um, the strengths for idealists is that they make great teachers. Oh, interesting, huh?
Already a teacher.
Uh-huh. And they make great counselors. And I love this that they put the results put in there that idealists make great champions.
Hmm.
So I love that they make great champions of those that they're working with and for. I think is so neat. And again, indicative of you. Um, let's see.
I guess that's the humanitarian part.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Um, let's see. The next one we you took was the Career One Stop. And that's a federally funded career assessment that
Okay.
helps people understand how your personality then connects directly to a job.
Okay.
Which for you, as you know, is more than just a job. It is a vocation. It is a calling. And uh, your results came back as a person that is uh, s- um, you seek high achievement.
Mhm.
Which, so at some point, I feel like we're going to be a broken record here because like all your tests are saying you are a wonderful human being and want to do good by the planet and you're going to work really hard at it. And so that's what this is stating here, that
Okay.
you have an opportunity uh, to see the results of your efforts. One of the hard things, though, about counseling is it's usually over the long haul, and so sometimes there will be tasks that you'll have to find and
Okay.
discover, so that when there's sort of that long game and you're feeling like you're not achieving something, to find achievement in some other
Okay.
way to placate that. Um, but let's see. Um, it states that you're highly motivated. Um, you're equally
Most
motivated
days.
to help. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
you're equally motivated to help others. You're not afraid to meet new challenges. Um, and because you're a high achiever, you will likely reach those goals.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What,
Yeah, even
any
in
thoughts
my
on
new
them?
role. Yeah, even in my new role at my current job, it's a new position and it's new to me. So, although there's a large learning curve because I'm learning a lot of, I guess, kind of the medical side in
Oh,
healthcare,
yeah, yeah.
um, and how doctors and specialists and even behavioral health or mental health run their actual practices.
Hmm.
Um, and just learning a lot of the, I guess, the language that's common in healthcare. Um, it's a challenge, but I'm determined to definitely rise to the challenge. So I've,
Oh, you will.
gained support with trying to learn training and just to make me a better provider coach so that I can be
Hmm.
helping those providers, which in turn help their clients and their patients. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. I need to look and see if there were any things that you needed to be mindful of.
okay.
Um, one of the things, and well, we kind of just talked about that was the aspect of, when you're already at the top of the achievement rung,
Mhm.
that it will be important for you to find other ways to incorporate that sense of achievement. But there's always, other organizations where you could be on the board of something, or, a political advocate for something as you're also running your business. But those are some things that I think will be really important for you, in maintaining that important need to just keep climbing as far as you can go. How does that sit with you?
No, that sounds good. I was gonna ask you if you had any recommendations, because I know with all jobs and careers, there's good and there's bad, there's pros and cons,
Hmm.
and things that employer or excuse me that everybody looks for is different. So I was just wondering kind of what maybe some of your recommendations, but you just named them. So that was yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great.
just some thoughts, because I mean that you can just keep going up. And I mean, the in that sense, being able to achieve is unlimited then. And then incorporating what you're doing and some of those outside things will then possibly funnel back into your organization through healing spaces too,
Okay.
and just keep building on itself. Um, all right, any more questions on that test?
No.
Okay. Um, I'm mindful of the time, so I probably should just keep right on rolling here. Our next was the open source psychometrics project, or the Holland Code. And you were labeled, or that's an integrative approach to assisting folks toward career and vocational choice. So, it's
Okay.
looking at things in both through both of those lenses, and what makes you, how you can engage your work life as part of who you are. Um, so you ranked investigative in social, which I always
Mhm.
feel like with an INFJ is a funny thing, because you can be very social and also
Mhm.
need to be very private. So there's
Mhm.
sort of that dichotomy as well. Um, and There are, of course, some other markers in there, but you rank the highest with investigative markers, which I think is like, that's what you're going to be doing in your care for other people. You're going to be investigating their stories. You're going to be investigating and researching how what are the best tools and approaches to helping them. And so that makes sense to me.
Okay.
And then your second was then social. And um, and and those things, I think, like I said, even if you're an introvert, you can still be very social and you can engage your clients just fine. And I think uh, it's a strength for someone who's going into counseling.
Okay.
um, I noted on the side of that particular one that naps are important for people who are introverts yet social,
Yes.
because it can be exhausting.
It
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
It can. And I noticed that about myself that when I engage in social events or even just with friends and family, sometimes that I kind of have a time limit
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
before I feel like I have an expiration date.
It's like, okay, I'm done.
I'm
Yeah.
done. Right. I'm just a little bit, my energy level's a little tapped out. And
Yeah.
so I do notice that about myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that way after church.
Yeah.
I like the Sunday afternoon nap is
Yeah.
is like really important, because it's just like, okay, I need to recharge for a minute.
Recharge. Yep, that's all it is.
That's
And
all it is. Yeah.
just need to be able to recharge and friends and family don't take it personal. So like,
Hmm.
hey, it's me. It's all
Yeah,
me.
it's just how I'm built.
Just
It's
how
not
I'm
it's
built.
not good, it's not or bad, it's not good or it's not bad, it's just you.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing I was noting in there between because of sort of like the focus on investigative, that you will also need to tie in your good skills with trusting your gut. And
Mm,
so I think sometimes while they're
mm,
not oppositional, um, you know, it'll just be a balance. Not,
yeah.
yeah. And then a similar test that you took was the ONET interest profiler.
Okay.
And not you flip-flopped like by a point on this one from the social to the investigate. Social was first and then investigative. And then right underneath that, which I thought was interesting, particularly given the wellness center that you're wanting to create, was artistic. And
Yes.
that you definitely have, and I know this about you with the candles, that you have a
Yes.
creative side. And that ranked pretty highly in that score for you. And so I think that's going to be an important part for you. I mean, I think it always has been, but as you're creating this business and looking at things um, for your wellness center. um, let's see. Yeah. All right. So let's get into your career. Oh, your overall assessments then are pointing you very strongly toward a career in counseling, which I
Hmm.
think we can probably both agree is not a surprise at all. um and so I think right now what we can do is just make a career plan
Okay.
that you would feel comfortable in incorporating. Um, let's see. I was thinking for you, kind of more with a theoretical hat, that that you would benefit from the social learning theory as part of, continuing to develop your career path. Um,
Mm,
that also, and that's from Crumbolt's, and then of course then Holland's theory of vocational types. I mean, I guess for me, using those counseling theories, um, it sets a pretty strong pattern for you about connecting yourself and how you're made with your career in very powerful ways, with being an idealist and a humanitarian and somebody who teaches and somebody who counsels and heals. And that it's not a random thing that you're going down this path, but as you continue to grow into your healing spaces, that you will continue to discover more about yourself as you're discovering more about the people that you want to be working, or that you will be working with, not want to be working with, but the people that you'll be working with. um, so let's see. I want to make sure we conclude this on the right notes as far as like developing that career plan.
okay.
What are some of the goals that you want to do based on your knowledge from this particular thing? Um, though I think you're pretty clear on next steps, continuing your education, getting licensed, doing some of the certifications that you want to do with yoga, and I believe the other one was a meditative practice. Is that right? Am I recalling that correctly?
One of the certifications is I want to really become an addictions and behavior disorder. That's kind of what I want to specialize in. So I'd like to really, I guess, drive even some of my when it's time for like practicum and internship towards that. So that way I'm learning foundationally, but also really being in the field and in the areas that I want to specialize in.
Oh, very
Um,
good.
so I think that's something that, like you said, one of those achievements for me is really, being able to find where I can do that.
Yeah.
Not just what doing the work, but actually like where I can do that and finding others that are in the field in that way. So um I think that's just as important.
Yeah. Um, so a couple of tools that I want to give you if you don't have them already.
Okay.
Excuse me. First, just to remind you, or if you haven't already seen, that the Chicago School does have a certification program for addiction counseling.
Oh,
Um, and so that might be something that you can either do side by side with your current work, or tack on at the end or
okay.
something. But that's an area, since you're already connected with Chicago School. And the other is NAADAC.org. It's the Association for Addiction Professionals.
Okay.
And that might be a helpful tool for you as you're continuing to create those goals.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, let's see. What questions do you have? Do you have any concerns? Is there anything that you're like, well, I'm really excited about this, but I'm worried about this part of the career, or anything like that?
Um I think being that I've already worked in some areas of mental health and behavioral health. I talked to practitioners that are already licensed counselors, LCSWs, others just in the industry.
Good.
I feel like I have a good kind of connection to it in different ways. I think the for me the biggest thing is pacing myself.
Yeah, yeah. It's really exciting to
It
dive into
is.
the work and to see, like, to have your mind just like, oh, this possibility and that possibility. I get
Yeah.
it. I get
But
it.
just really pacing myself, and pacing, my ambition and just understanding there's a process to things. That's the part that I think not really worries me, but it does put it's kind of like that caution,
Yeah,
just
just
keeping
a
the
yellow
caution.
flag.
Yep, just a yellow flag.
Not a red
Doesn't
one,
mean that there's anything that's wrong with it, but just, making sure that I am pacing myself properly for myself.
for sure.
For so
Yeah. Well, I think that you are headed in the direction that is going to be exciting and wonderful for you, and just lots of meaning and purpose behind it. Um, so you can contact me at any time, and if you have any questions, I want to check back in with you. I don't know, in a couple of months' time, and see.
okay,
And it can certainly be sooner. If need be, but I feel like you have a really solid plan, and I just want to check in and see how that plan is going for you. If there's any other way that, like, I can connect you with different resources that I have,
okay,
be happy to do that. But I think really you are just gonna have so much fulfillment in the work that you are set out to do, and that clearly your personality suits it well. So I think you can take comfort in that.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That
Well,
sounds good.
yeah, yeah. So I think we can close out this Zoom call. And but like I said, you have my contact information, and but please, if you need to, call me at any time, email me, whatever you need. But until then, I'll be excited to see where things are progressing for you.
Okay,
Okay?
sounds good.
Thanks for meeting with me.
Thank you, Rebecca. Have a good one.
You too.
Hello, my name is Nikki Curry, and today we're going to be talking with a client that has taken some career assessments, and we're going to talk about some career goals that this client has with us. Before we dive in and we speak with the client, I want to give background on who the client is to give you a broader picture of the assessments that we're going to speak about and talk about in the career path or plan, excuse me, the career plan that we're going to set forth. This client is a Caucasian female and currently enrolled in a clinical mental health counseling program. The client that we're also going to speak with already holds a Master's of Divinity degree and has served as an ordained minister for the past 23 years. So, with this extensive pastoral counseling, faith formation, and spiritual disciplines, we can already assess that in seeking to expand her skill sets and transitioning into the field of mental health counseling. Let's talk with our client today. Her name is Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Nikki?
Doing good. So, before we dive into your career goals that we started to talk about last, and I know that you took some of the tests that I sent over to you on your own, I, want to be able to really just explore some of the findings. We'll start to craft a personalized plan with you
Okay.
and discover some resources that might be a helpful from the assessments. So, kind of why you took each of them, why those particular tests were chosen, and the measures to, just relate it to your overall job satisfaction.
All right.
How's that sound?
Oh, great.
Okay. So, based on that insight, we'll identify some strengths and potential challenges that might be present. And then, like I said, we'll talk about some interventions and next steps. So, to really bolster your progress, I'll suggest some online resources and explain, how to access them if you need, or if you need additional support around that, I can definitely help you with that.
Cool.
All right, so let's go ahead and start to dive right in.
All
So,
right.
like I discussed, the last time we spoke, you had kind of told me three of your career goals that we already mapped out, right? Awesome. So one of the goals was definitely that you want to complete your master's degree in clinical mental health counseling.
Mhm.
That can be a mouthful.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. You also want to develop a program offering clinical and spiritual support to youth and children that's currently at your church that you work with.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last goal that you talked about was an even bigger initiative of securing some grant funding for a mental health and wellness in ministry
Yeah.
initiative.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, we'll talk about some SMART goals to that, but let's really talk about the assessments that you took to help us get and understand more of the goals.
Very
All
good.
right. So you took one, two, three, we took about five different assessments. One being the Keirsey temperament sorter.
Hmm.
Okay. Another one is called the Myers-Briggs type indicator.
Hmm.
You took the Truity career aptitude test. You also took the career one-stop assessment. And then lastly, you took what's called the open source psychometric project test. So I know, and the strong interest in inventory. So that's a mouthful. All right.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful. First off, how did it feel taking kind of some different tests to kind of assess um, personality and maybe some of your career? Like, did you see any alignments or anything?
Well, I felt like they were all I guess alignments and maybe some redundancy.
Okay.
But not really knowing about the results or whatnot. I figured there was a reason for that.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's definitely talk about some of them. And there were definitely some overlap. So you will see and
Okay.
hear some overlap.
Okay.
And forgive me, I had a timer set for us because I just want to keep track of our time together.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's dive in. The Keirsey temperament sorter and the Myers-Briggs type indicator. So that's a test that you might have taken that before, or maybe even heard of it in a
Mm.
different way. They're more of personality type tests, and it's not an indicator of who you are as a person, but just gives a broader picture of maybe some characteristics that you would display not only in your work, but also maybe that you'll see some overlap in your personal life.
Okay.
So, one thing, the Keirsey temperament sorter said that you are an idealist. How does that feel?
I think that feels about right.
Okay. Why do you say that feels about right?
I guess I always feel like that in my life that I've always just been working toward what possibilities are always available, kind of, yeah, thinking about the what ifs and not in a negative way, but in a positive way, well, what if we're able to do this and surprise ourselves? Or
Right.
so that, yeah, that seems like that's fitting.
Okay. And then the Myers-Briggs indicator, you might have heard of this, is that there are different types of personalities. And so your indicator came up as ENFJ. Do you
Yes.
remember hearing that?
Yes. In fact, I took it at the actually that test a year into my career as a pastor, because even then I was questioning, if this was my call, and so I took it then and had the same result.
Okay. So not something that you were unfamiliar with. You've taken it
Okay.
before
Mhm.
and you kind of see some of the same things pop up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, ENFJ, let me just tell you exactly what they stand for. And so the E is for extroverted.
Hmm.
The N, which is really intuitive. So instead of the I, they use an N.
Uh-huh.
Your F is for feeling. And then the J, lastly, is for judging. So it's one of the 16 personality types that's identified by the Myers Briggs type indicator. And it's typically people with this personality are often described warm, outgoing, loyal, and sensitive. So we can definitely see the overlap just in your current career being a minister, that you're warm and outgoing and loyal and sensitive, which I'm sure definitely you see that every day in your current career. Okay. It also states that you're a natural leader and one that's passionate and helping others and makes a positive impact on the world. So we can definitely see that in your current career path and as you move forward, just in some of the career goals that you want to definitely meet for yourself within the next coming
Yeah,
years, right?
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Awesome. Okay. Well, just so you know, some other characteristics is that they're charismatic and inspiring, empathetic, organized and efficient, and also good communicators. So I'm sure that definitely comes up being a minister and being able to speak to different and diverse types of people within your congregation and those that you might be in the community with. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So some potential career paths, I just want to kind of point out from this because it does tell us just a little about your personality. But guess what's on the list?
Counselor.
Counselor, teacher, coach, pastor, social worker, human resources. So you're already aligned. Your personality is already, you're aligned in kind of what you're already doing. So I think that that was really good to kind of discover that, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely some helpful confirmation.
Yeah, yeah. So some of the next one that you took was called the Truity Career Aptitude Test. And this identifies, you identified as a helping, okay? So your career aptitude identified as a helping, that you're in the helping profession as a counselor, right? And
Mhm.
that was your top result, and it aligns with your personality assessment, right? Like you
Yeah.
said, that kind of gives you confirmation of that. And it also highlights your desires to continue to contribute and make that positive impact. So I think, again, just a lot of what you're doing, that you have opportunities in your work to continue to achieve more, be that idealist, maybe thinking outside of the box, but understanding certain boxes, if I can kind of put it.
Yeah.
So how does that sound when you took that, you're, hey, it aligns with my personality. I'm in the helping profession. Anything jump out at you?
It does. It's again, it's affirming because um my career as a pastor, and I don't, as you can tell by my career goals, I don't want to give that part up. But at the same time, it is not becoming a sustainable career if you're not like Joel Osteen or, one of the, a more popular pastor. I pastor a small church, um, there's always sort of that question over your head, like maybe I just am off my rocker and don't know what I am supposed to be doing. And that it helps because that is where I genuinely want to be in life.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely glad that this was affirming for you when you took those two particular tests.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I wanted you to take them. I wanted you to see alignment in what your personality, your current career choice, but also be able to see more of, okay, I can see that I do have a place here in what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's move on to the next test. The next one is called the Truity Career Aptitude, or excuse me, we just went over that one. Forgive me. It was the Career One Stop Assessment.
Okay.
So with the Career One Stop Assessment, it's one of those tests that it's used by the federal government here in the US. And it just aligns more of also with the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So it helps us to kind of really start to identify actual careers and actual job placement, let's say.
Hmm.
And so with that, definitely wanted you to take that test to see what other paths could there that align with my personality, that align with maybe my current career choice, or something that, hey, maybe this is a new skill set that I can incorporate in what I'm doing.
Something I hadn't thought of yet.
Yeah,
Or
something I hadn't thought of
so.
yet. So, with that, the results of your test was that you ranked very high as an achievement, followed by relationships. So, I
Mm,
find that, that further emphasize and definitely affirms that you're a drive for accomplishment while valuing connection and collaboration. I'm sure that being a pastor, like I said, you may be at a small location, but that
right.
also could lean towards community involvement.
Hmm.
It also leans towards somewhat, I could see, or we could even see alignment in some areas of maybe overall in your county, in your city government, things of that nature, education. in your board of education, just things that you value and align with. You value and align with those objectives and those missions and causes. Okay. So it's really just kind of saying, what else can maybe cross my path? That's okay.
Sorry about this.
No,
Getting
please.
over that cold.
Yeah, I understand. So yes. So the next one I do want to talk about, which was the last test. And I want to then start diving more into let's putting a plan together now that we've maybe taken and having an understanding of why we took the test and what the tests were. But the last one that you took was called the Open Source Psychometric Project Test.
Mhm.
Okay. And again, this is one that it aligns with just with the others. And it's very much aligned with the Career One test. And so you identified in your results as being a high ranker as being social. Pastors are usually very social. Yeah, ministry is very social. And so that's a key trait that complements your other assessments. Okay. And it's one that does confirm maybe your comfort levels and your effectiveness in interacting with others. Tell me your thoughts how that when you hear that, what comes to mind for you?
Well, it's really funny. As I have, you know, developed preaching skills over the past 23 years. Um, I started out as somebody who clung very tightly to my manuscript because, uh, I felt an uncertainty about what I was saying or, how people were going to receive it. And as time has gone on, I'm able to then speak more on the fly and more confidently without the manuscript. And then uh, in the most recent years, I can see sort of the arc of that component of my personality feeling more confident because I'm now able to give sermons. I don't do this often, but without a manuscript. I mean, I did a sermon the other day that I had a completely different manuscript in my hand, and it just wasn't going down that path for me that day. And just that arc of sort of people in that space seeing my sort of more social uh, self being more confident in that way. And not that a sermon is necessarily social, but when I'm doing it, I mean, people will see my, silly sense of humor, and it's just like me in that space. Um, so I guess that I would say that it's an interesting arc, but it also makes sense.
Okay. Okay, well, good. I'm glad that taking these assessments confirmed some things for you. I hope that with seeing that you're able to see some areas of opportunity for you to be able to explore career wise that align with your personal goals and values. So I hope that that was helpful to you in that
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the next part that I want to go over with us is let's talk about creating a plan. Now that we've kind of taken some of these assessments, we kind of know, hey, maybe I just didn't think about this, whatever this could be for you in your area, or just even as you grow into the mental health counseling. I want to really put forth a plan so that you're able to accomplish those top 3 goals that you really want to accomplish. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Great. So we're going to just create this plan and hopefully again it gives you just the awareness that leads to the foundation. for things. And so, um, excuse me, one of the things that I really would like for us to kind of talk about at this point is the assessment again taps into your personality, your values, your skills. But let's kind of really talk about, well, I want to consider some other things, such as your wellness. I would
Okay.
assume, and from what we've talked about before, being a pastor definitely can have its set of challenges as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely understand, possibly being on call during opportunities where, hey, it's during my family time. I have obligations. You have obligations to the church, um, that, to make sure that certain things just get done for your parishioners and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to talk about creating some wellness for you too, because having that demanding kind of schedule could put a strain on family times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes it might not feel like it's being as rewarding because you may be missing moments. Um, and sometimes, like you said, it feels like you're not aligned with your overall values. You made the statement that, hey, is this really what I should be doing? And so having that internal conflict.
Yeah,
So I think,
yeah. It does make sense because there's it's not a 9 to 5 job. And
yeah,
so, the waters get pretty muddy with days off
yeah,
and things like that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to say a part of the plan, before we begin, I want to definitely let us talk about wellness for you. I think that'll be beneficial as you move forward, even as your career at this time as a student, is what does that look like for Rebecca? So that way you have the structure, you have the support, and you have resources already in place for yourself as you move forward in these career goals. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing is definitely stress management
Mm.
and to be real mindful. If you're not already practicing some mindfulness and relaxation techniques, what are some things that you currently use that's working for you?
I'm sorry, my dogs, I guess, is one thing that she keeps saying hello.
Love them. Love our four-legged families.
Yes. I think one of the ways that I like to do that is and here comes another. Um I like to work out.
Okay, great.
And so biking is one of my favorite things to do. Um, I love to, it's like this weekend being able to be outside has been really great. So those are uh, ways where I can, you know, shed sort of some of those layers of stress when I get to do those things and not think about hard things.
Right. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you already have that in place. I would challenge you and just say maybe some homework is make sure that we're setting and establishing some boundaries about that time so that you can go biking, whether it's, if you have support with the family and the kids, this is my time.
Mhm.
Or even if you like to do it as a family, that you set time, that this is our time together so that you're getting that physical activity that you want and need to kind of just let your mind go and just physically feel it.
Yeah.
But I would challenge you to just let's create some boundaries around that so
Hmm.
that we ensure that you have it.
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
the
It's really important.
understanding, just being flexible with it that, hey, I might not be able to bike every Tuesday, but I know 2 times a month I'm gonna go biking by
Uh-huh.
myself, and maybe another time I'll go with the family. We go as a group. So I would challenge you to do that and then set time limits around it, maybe turning off the phones during that time.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
way you can be able to be present with with yourself and, if you do it with someone else. How's that sound?
I think it sounds really smart and something that I'm gonna need to be disciplined in, um, because if I'm honest, that's one of the things that goes out the door first, and
So I would
shouldn't
challenge
be.
you, and let's just make that some homework. Do it
Yeah,
for a couple of days and see how that feels. I don't know if it's too cold there to kind of do it. Um, but even if it's
I've
just
got
like,
a Peloton
oh,
too.
okay, even that you can put it in a tropical background of
That
like,
is
it's a
right.
really cold day. I want to feel maybe some California winds.
Uh-huh.
That way you can kind of challenge yourself and set a time limit. So I would encourage you to set a time limit with that, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So another thing that the next thing around your plan that I would like to challenge you with is let's explore some career alternatives.
Okay.
And not to say that you're deviating from your current passion and where you feel called and you're most effective in your strength, but just let's do some self discovery with what else is in my area. Mental health counseling opens a wealth of doors. And I know that one of your goals is to open that youth and adolescent center at your current church.
Hmm.
Tell me more about how that sounds and what you think when you hear that as a goal.
Um, when I hear about the wellness center aspect of
Yeah.
it, I think it sounds really great. Because I think that's one of the things that uh, so my church's motto is celebrating and sharing Christ's love through feeding the mind, body, and soul. And we were really intentional. We just changed it last year to that last part. Um, because when all three of those things are in line, then you can live more fully and more present and more authentically, but also handle the stressors of life um, more honestly and it makes very good sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think that one of the things, let's challenge maybe looking at, because you're in your program. I'm not sure how far you are in your program, but if
Just
you,
at the grant writing stage, so the sky's the limit.
awesome. So even look at maybe doing some job shadowing if you're at practicum or internship, and
Mhm.
actually being at a facility that might already have those services available. I think that might help so that way you can see other areas of the wellness center that would be of interest and very much important to the overall mission and goal. So
Mhm.
that way you have a different perspective. You could see what other training that might be available with it. But I would encourage you to maybe start researching if you have not already. Let's begin researching what services are available and maybe possibly looking at that as some job shadowing and networking,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
such as social services. Sometimes that they have programs available. Your colleges and universities have different programs available. So maybe look through your schools to see what's available to me currently that I could take and learn more. So
Mhm.
that way you see all aspects of it,
Yeah.
because there's a business side and there's the actual counseling and clinical side and there's the facility side and there's so many different layers.
Yeah.
So just being able to understand at least the layers, not that you would have to do them, but have a full picture.
It just reminded me, I belonged to a Facebook group called Things They Didn't Teach Us in Seminary, and like boiler maintenance is one of them.
Yeah, the pipes of all
Yeah.
things.
I don't know how to take care of this 150-year-old building.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I actually know the director for Healing Spaces. I should call her.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. Reach out so that way you could definitely connect with each other
Yeah.
over coffee and just find out more. So I think that would be really good. And that way you can explore and ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's really great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Lastly, I want to, before we kind of close out, I want to also, for your career path, is also align your career with your purpose and I'm very much your spirituality. I
Mhm.
know that your purpose in what you do is very, very important to you, but also to others that you serve. And so I want to reflect on your core values and your beliefs so that you identify in this person in this career.
Mhm.
We know that you have an identity in it, but it'll shift and it'll change.
Mhm.
And so I really want you to explore those passions and lean into your aspirations to discover maybe I'm a different type of pastor in this
Yeah.
space
Yeah.
and really align it with your purpose and your spirituality through volunteer work, maybe in volunteering in one of the initiatives that you're already that's available at the church
Mhm.
that's been established or collaborating like I said with some others and I think that you really immersing yourself in a different way where you don't have to show up as the pastor but
Uh-huh.
maybe just show up as Rebecca the volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's really
think
great too.
yeah, I think that really aligning that with your values, your spiritual beliefs, so that you gain and lean into that clarity and direction. I know that that's very important to you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, again, it can really kind of be seeking mentorship and guidance from individuals who embody your values and your spiritual principles. Okay. So, not that you have to shift and change, but just making sure for you that, hey, the work again doesn't go in vain. This aligns with my purpose on days that I have where they're a little bit harder. My program's straining me just or challenging me a little bit more, that you're leaning
Mm.
into that for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for me? I want to round things out with some theories, which is going to sound like, okay, I don't understand all of this or that, but it just kind of rounds out our conversation around anything. Do you have any questions at this point?
I don't think so. I think I have some good things to chew on here, so but I don't think I have any questions right now. But if I
Okay,
do, also know how to get a hold of you if something
wonderful,
comes up.
wonderful. Well, from a career counseling standpoint, no, there's no one single theory that's universally applicable. So I want to give you the most effective approach with combining theory with your goals, with some of the challenges that you did, as well as those career assessments that
Hmm.
you did, just to give you a fuller picture of, you know, your needs, your preferences, your background. And just it really helps us kind of like knock the ball out the park or just round the bases.
Hmm.
Okay. So one theory that comes up that I feel that aligns best is called trait and factor. Have you ever heard of that?
No, tell me more, please.
Okay. Well, trait and factor, this theory focuses on matching individuals' traits and abilities with their specific career requirements. So, really matching traits that you have, your abilities, and just saying, oh, okay, well, that meets a pastor should have empathy, right?
Yeah, I
That
hope so.
matches Rebecca. We would hope so. We would hope so. A pastor should be helpful, really matching it with what those specific requirements. So that way, maybe we're not feeling like we're having to be a tennis ball and I'm learning all of this over here, but it doesn't apply to what my career path may be right now.
Hmm.
And in doing so, it also, again, it reveals the aptitude of specific areas. And so this really was helpful in identifying those career options. So remember we talked about a little earlier what were some of the alternatives um or you know that you could possibly look at. Okay?
Okay.
One of the other theories that comes to mind in rounding out for you your plan, your goals, assessments is called social cognitive career theory. And
Mm-hmm.
so this really emphasizes the role of social learning in your self efficacy and your outcome and expectations in career development. So it really just says what's already in me, what are my expectations that come from that, what do I expect in my career planning. You're
Mm-hmm.
in mental health, and there's so many different, or you're in a mental health counseling program. So there's so many different, it's very broad. There's so many different ways you can go with that and still align it with what you currently do. Okay. So if you were saying earlier, if you had expressed some concerns about your abilities, your confidence, and this just helps us guide and build that self-efficacy and achieve your goals.
Okay.
Okay. One more is called the Holland theory of vocational choice. And so this categorizes individuals and occupations based on their personality types. We
Okay.
took the Myers-Briggs test. And so it revealed really strong personality interests and types. You're helping, you're idealist, your personality has the core of you hasn't changed. Even with life situations, you're still the same Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that just makes your career paths even more compatible. How's
Cool.
that sound?
Very interesting.
Good, good. Well, again, I challenge you to let's challenge in your plan of that work, stress management, just in your schoolwork, your pastoral work, and then also balancing for yourself, your own wellness. I really want you to kind of really think about that and really challenge how we can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Setting that time aside just for you.
Yeah.
Also balancing, or excuse me, collaborating with individuals, organizations, so that you can show up and just see a different type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
How will the youth group, how does this service over here, what are things that I'd like to model? How do I model that? How do I get training and coaching around that mentorship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Well, I know that navigating your career choice, it's more than just skill and interest. So I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this process with you. And again, I just thank you for sharing, allowing me to share and getting to know you better and what factors might influence your expectations and your opportunities. So I think that you have a good handle on what you want to do, how you want to do it, and just saying, hey, maybe I'm a little fuzzy here, but I think that you're on the right path to achieving those goals that are very important to you. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this process.
Oh, I really appreciate your help. It's has been affirming and given me some good tools. So I really appreciate that a lot.
Great. Great. Well, I want to be able to follow up with you. And let's say about 3 weeks. How's that sound?
Okay.
And we can just talk about how the challenges and just see what worked, what didn't work, and what you've come up with, what you've learned, maybe new, and then see if that's still aligning with what you want to do with those goals.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for your time.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I
All
appreciate it.
right. See
All
you
right.
soon.
All right. Bye bye.
And